Well, here we are, our last video in the series of Discover You. I hope you've learned something through the teaching and something that's impacted you personally. I believe it will, because it did me. This last video is on the motivational gift of mercy. And so, again, we'll go back to the etymology of the word. And in the Greek, the word is eleon. Eleon. It's actually spelled E-L-E-W-N. E-L-E-W-N, but it's pronounced Elion. Elion. And it's from Elios, which means have compassion on. The definition of mercy used in this study is the extraordinary ability to feel and to act upon genuine empathy for others who suffer distressing physical, mental, emotional, and social pain. Another expert adds to the understanding by defining the gift of mercy as the ability to feel genuine empathy and compassion for individuals who suffer distressing physical, mental, or emotional problems, to translate that compassion into cheerfully done deeds. So that will expand the definition more. They not only are empathetic for physical, mental, emotional needs, but they also translate that compassion or that empathy into cheerfully done deeds. In other words, they're happy to do things for people that are in need. And so that's the working definition for mercy, Elion. Mercy falls into the doing category. Remember, we have the two categories, the speaking and doing, and mercy is a doing, falls into the doing category. People gifted with mercy are the first to listen and sympathize when someone is suffering. They feel that sympathizing with others is a valuable use of their time. So, they feel like just being sympathetic is valuable. Just being empathetic for someone is valuable. Whereas other people, say, people like myself or others, they don't feel like it's productive. They're meeting the need or actually coming up with an answer for the need would be something that's more worthwhile. We wouldn't feel that the emotion or the actual sympathizing or empathizing, what have you, would be valuable. But the person with the gift of mercy, they believe that that's actually a valuable use of their time, is to be sympathetic or be compassionate. The gift is concerned with the condition of the person who is suffering or in trouble. So their main concern is their condition. It may not be necessarily the circumstances, but it's their condition as a being, their physical, emotional, or mental, that sort of thing. Their social issues. They're concerned about their well-being. Often people with this gift have a strong desire to relieve the pain of others. This is why people with the gift of mercy are usually effective in roles that require compassion. Some of those compassionate roles are physical therapists, social workers, or counselors. Those are some roles that should be heavy in the gift of mercy. People with the motivational gift of mercy should consider those, because they're very, very emotional and very, they're very gifts that require a lot of compassion. Physical therapists, though I've been to some physical therapy that they didn't seem very compassionate because it kept pushing me, but they're very compassionate and that sort of thing. Social workers definitely have to have some compassion. Of course, they would have to guard against some of the pitfalls of this gift, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. But those are some of the things. Now, the gift of mercy is also effective in human resource departments where employee concerns are addressed. So we talked about before in the encouraging gift that human resources, your human resources department should have people with the gift of encouraging. Well, if you have someone that finding the person that actually has mercy and encouraging and serving, those three are in their top third of their gifts, then you found a good candidate, because they can can encourage people because they have the gift of encouraging. They want to lift them up. They want to encourage them. They want to build them up. They want the serving. They want to help them and do what they can for them. But then the mercy is so they could have the compassion, because employees that come with personal issues, issues at home, that sort of thing, or even issues in the workplace with coworkers or that sort of thing, then they can be sympathetic and really have compassion on those people. And so it'd be really strategic to have someone with those giftings. Again, there are limits and some boundaries that should be set, and we'll talk about those in a moment. It is the ability to show compassion and mercy that enables the person with this gift to demonstrate a large amount of patience. So they're very patient with people when they come to them. Unlike people that have the perceiving gifts or a lot of the action-oriented gifts that, the perceiver is, very black and white, very right, wrong, that sort of thing. If someone comes to them and they have a problem, okay, we'll talk about this, but we'll formulate a solution, and there you go. There's your solution. But if the person comes back and they still have the exact same issue, then the person with the perceiving is not going to be very patient with them. Listen, I created a plan. There's an action plan. Let's get on the plan. Let's work the plan. Let's do the plan. Go. Whereas a person with the motivational gift of mercy, they're going to be a lot more patient. They're going to let them come back 2 or 3 times, 4 times, and talk about the exact same thing, because of the compassion and the empathy they feel. They're going to know that they need to talk it out, that it's beneficial to talk it out, but it's also fulfilling for the person with the gift of mercy to actually be compassionate about the same thing again. So they're very patient when it comes to people with having issues. They're less likely to become frustrated when people repeatedly come to them with problems, unlike those gifted in other areas, just like we said, us perceivers. Depending on other dominant gifts operating in one's life, the gift of mercy tends to attract hurting, emotionally needy people. So that's where we got to start looking at the boundaries. Now I'm gonna talk quite a bit in this about the pitfalls, but because I've seen it so many times in people with the motivational gift of mercy, I've seen them fall off a cliff of things that they should be setting boundaries and stuff. So this is one of the things that you've got to watch, is you're going to constantly be attracting people because of the fact that they sense that you're going to be compassionate towards them, you're going to be empathetic towards them. They sense that, and so people that are hurting and they're emotionally needy, they will be drawn to people with the mercy gift. It's kind of crude, but it's like, misery loves company. And so they feel like that you are in their company when you are commiserating with them, when you are compassionate and empathetic about their plight. And so you're just naturally going to draw those people. You're going to draw more than most people. I have them come to me, but as a rule, they don't come to me as often as they do, say, my wife, because she has mercy. They'll go to my wife more than they will me, because I kind of repel them, I guess. I don't know. I've tried to be compassionate. As I've gotten older, I've tried to be more compassionate in the things that I do and how I relate to people. And it's just a work in progress. But when you have these strong gifts in you, like I do, the really strong gifts like the perceiving and the leading, it's just one of those things you have to watch and you have to protect against. But my wife has mercy as one of her strong gifts, and she just, people just tend to go to her and gravitate to her. Now I have mercy in my gift. It's number 7. It's the very last one. But that doesn't mean I should not operate in that gift. It should mean that I work on that, trying to build it up, try to make it stronger, try to have more compassion and more empathy. It'll make me a more balanced person emotionally and relationally and that sort of thing. So when I talk about the downfalls of me, understand, I recognize I have to work on all those things. I'm not celebrating that I have problems and have issues with other things. I'm saying this is how I have been or am, and I'm aware that I need to work on them, and I am trying to work on them. And it helps as you age too. You tend, as you've gone through more things in your life, you tend to be be a little more balanced than you were when you're young and idealistic, and that sort of thing. Like givers, mercy also has a gracious nature. However, the gift of mercy is easier to take advantage of, and this can result in burnout. So here's where we're going to start talking about boundaries. The person with the gift of mercy, givers, there needs to be boundaries for them as well. We talked about those, but the person with the gift of mercy, they have to be ultra cautious about their boundaries. They have to set those boundaries because of the fact that you can be taken advantage of very easily, and then you can get emotionally burnt out yourself. So just imagine you attract people that have that are hurting and have emotional difficulties, and those people are constantly coming to you. You attract them. So it's drawing on your emotions constantly. It's drawing on your emotions all the time. So at some point you've got to say, okay, that's it. I've got to go and take care of myself. I've got to do self-care. If you don't separate yourself from those, and I'm not talking about permanently and for a long time, but a short period of time so you can recoup. Go to an environment where you can regenerate yourself, recuperate, listen to some good teachings, or, have people pour into you, have people encourage you, have people, where you're being, your needs are being met as well. Because if you don't have the emotional currency or the emotional bandwidth, you're going to burn out really easily. You're going to be so susceptible to falling into the issues of those that you're trying to help, that you've got to. It's a slippery slope. And so I just, you're helping people. You're feeling so fulfilled because of the fact that you're empathizing and sympathizing, being compassionate, that sort of thing. But the thing is, before you know it, you've bankrupted your emotions, and so you've got to be able to make deposits, make more deposits in, and then so you'll have capital to be able to give out. So it's just kind of an advice. A person with a mercy gift must set the boundaries so they don't get sucked into the problems of others. This gift can show mercy in a cheerful way, bringing joy to gloomy places. That's kind of why they're around. They're around for people that are down. That's what they are. I just came up with that. But they're around for people that are down. And they can bring joy, and they can bring cheerfulness to people. And people that come to someone with a gift of mercy, they leave feeling better about the situation. They've talked about it. They've had somebody be compassionate with them and empathize with them. They've had someone they could actually, hash it out. Once they do, they feel like they have gotten everything off their chest, and they feel better. They feel more cheerful, and so the person with the motivational gift of mercy brings joy and brings lightness and brings cheerfulness. Remember to care for yourself, so that you have the emotional reserve to listen and take care of others. We talked about that. People with the gift of mercy do it with an attitude of cheerfulness. Well, because they get their energy from being compassionate. They get their energy from being empathetic. That's where they get their energy. See, unlike the encourager, the people with the gift of encouraging, they're satisfied and they're energized when they see people encouraged. The giver, they get energized and are excited and get fulfilled when they see the benefits of their giving, not the act of giving. But in mercy, it is the act of being merciful. It's not whether people actually change or the situation changes, not seeing results of that, though it is fulfilling, but the actual fulfillment and energy comes from being compassionate and being empathetic. So it gives them joy to be empathetic and compassionate, and it gives them a sense of worth. So people with this gift are the heart of the group. They are the emotion center, the heart of the group. They identify with and comfort those in sorrow or in distress. We must have people in our lives, at least one person we are in relationship with that has the gift of mercy, so that we can go to them when we have down times, when we have disappointments, when we have difficulties. We can go to them and we can talk it out. Not that we're going to stay there, not that we're going to be able to hash it out over and over and over again. But the thing is we need to have them in our lives so that when we need someone to has a listening ear, we can talk to them and they'll listen to us, and they will be compassionate with us and not judge us and that sort of thing. Those with the gift of mercy desire to take care of those with physical and emotional needs. They want to take care of them. There's a lot of, again, my wife, she has this kind of maternal thing because she's got that mercy gifting. She's got a very maternal instinct to her. She wants to take care of people. And so, that's what people with the gift of mercy are. Again, generalizations, not everyone is going to be that way, but as a rule, this is what's true. So they are super sensitive to those around them, sensing need not outwardly expressed. So this is where they have a sort of an intuition. When they're around people, especially if they've been in a relationship very long with that person, or they've known them very long, they will know when something's not quite right. You think you're hiding it. You think you're going around and nobody knows what's going on, and you're having these issues. But the person with the gift of mercy, they're going to perceive it. They're going to sense that there is an issue, that there's an underlying something going on underneath, and so they'll come to you and say, "Is everything all right?" And you'll say, "Yeah, everything's fine." Well, they'll know to interpret fine as no, not really, because that's who they are. And other giftings will just say, "Oh, good, that's great. I'm glad you're fine." But the ones with the gift of mercy, they're going to be able to interpret that language, that tone, and that sort of thing. So it's very necessary to have people with the gift of mercy in their life, because sometimes people will hide things because they don't want people to know they're ashamed that they have an issue and that sort of stuff. But if someone with the gift of mercy can say, if you need to talk or anything like that, you know where I am, or they'll call them themselves and say, I really sense that something was going on. Would you want to share with me a little bit about it? And it'll be between you and I, and that sort of thing. So anyway, they have that ability. So their motivation is they are focused on emotional needs of others. That's their motivation. They're full of compassion, love, mercy, and they are very forgiving. And their mantra is, can we all just get along? Can't we all just get along is their mantra. And so, because mercy, people with the gift of mercy, they just want everyone to be happy. They want everybody to be fixed. They want everybody to be, joyful and cheerful and that sort of thing. So that's one of those. So the pro of the gift is they are very compassionate. They're very empathetic, and they're loyal and forgiving. And this is good, because in that gifting, when people are they're dealing with people with emotional needs and that sort of thing, those people with those needs need to know that they're going to be there for them, not that they are going to, hear their problems then run like their hair's on fire or something. They're going to be there when they need them. They're going to be there for them, and they know. So they're loyal, and they are compassionate, and then they're forgiving. If someone had an issue and it was something that they did or someone they wronged, they're so compassionate that they will exercise forgiveness for people. So that's their strong points. So here are some of the pitfalls and the downfall. We talked about some of them already. They can be totally blind of the faults of the person they're working with. They can be totally blind of their faults because of the fact they get so invested in a person. They're so compassionate and so empathetic with the person that they can be totally blind to that person's fault, not realizing and not keeping in mind there's usually at least two sides of a story. I've had to remember that in counseling and being in the ministry. You have to always remember there are at least two sides to every story. And until you hear the other person's side of the story, you cannot take sides. Well, as a rule in ministry, you never take sides. It's just not done, because things, as soon as this is something I learned. As soon as you take sides, then the two parties reconcile, and then they're both mad at you. So it's like, never take sides, but always remember there's always some contributing factors to it that the person that you're talking to has responsibility for. So, but they're blind to people's faults, and they get offended if you hurt someone's feelings. My father, mercy was like number one on my father. He was pastor most of my life, and so we started a church in 2001, and I was the administrative pastor and the worship leader. And so I took care of the business of the church and that sort of thing. And then I led the worship. I was the song leader or the music director or whatever terminology you want to use. So I did that. I was in charge of the music. And so being the administrative pastor and over all the arts, I was over all the sound systems and over all the systems and all the things, how the church service was supposed to progress and the order of the service. And I was in charge of all that, making sure that bulletins were done, that they're being handed out. So I had all these responsibilities. So on Sunday mornings, we would rehearse. We'd get there early and we'd rehearse for an hour or so. And then we'd have, 15 to 20 minutes before service started, and there were things that I had to get accomplished, things that I had to get done. I had to make sure that the bulletins were being handed out, that if they were folded, or I had to go make sure that there were batteries and microphones. I had to make sure that everything's organized. I had to make sure that if we were doing something special, if everything was in place. It's just responsibilities. But I'm being a very task-oriented person, I would approach those things with tunnel vision, and so I would go through the foyer of the church, the entryway of the church, and people are coming in and they're hugging each other and hadn't seen each other in a while and those sort of things. And me, I just go right straight through it like nobody exists. Well, someone always got offended, got their feelings hurt because they felt like I was being rude to them. I was ignoring them, or if I did say hi, it was very hey. And then I'd move on. So I was short with them. I was curt with them. I was these sort of things. And they'd go to my father. And my father would say, sometimes he'd understand. He'd be compassionate with me and say, listen, I know, who it is and stuff like that. But sometimes he'd say, boy, you got to stop sometimes. I said, but Dad, I've got so many things to do. I don't have time to stop and coddle people. Coddle people, that was my deal. If I'm going to talk to them, I'm coddling them. But he said, you're not coddling people. You are a pastor of this church. You have to take time for people. But what if I don't get done? Then it doesn't get done. I said, this was earlier on, and I thought, what do you mean if it doesn't get done? It's got to get done. And he says, if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. But you got to remember, ministry is about people. And I was making ministry about tasks, and boy, he would just get upset at me because I would hurt people's feelings. So this happened several times, and I do good for a while, and then I would kind of fall back into where I was, and my tendency to be task oriented and have tunnel vision, that sort of thing. Somebody come to Dad, and several times it was one of our elders, one of the elder guys that I thought, okay, you're a grown up, you're in your upper 70s, you ought to be okay with this. You've been around church, things but he'd go to Dad and say, James just, he's just rude to me and all this. My dad said, it's like, James, you've got to pay attention to people. You've got to acknowledge them. You've got to engage them and that sort of thing. So anyway, that's where people with the gift of mercy get offended if you hurt people's feelings. And they will take up, one of the other defaults is they will take up the offenses of people. They will take on those offenses. And this is, again, where a boundary should be involved. When you are a person with the gift of mercy, you have to learn to set boundaries and not allow yourself to go any further than that boundary, or you will actually become part of the problem. If you start taking on their offenses, that's when you're going to burn out easier. You're going to wreck your relationships with other people. you're going to, bad things will happen when you start taking on people's offenses. Now, being compassionate is one thing, being empathetic with them is one thing, even sympathizing with them is one thing. But when you cross that boundary of actually making it your hurt, making it your offense, making it your issue, that's where it's getting to be bad territory. You should not do that. You shouldn't allow that to happen, because you're going to do more damage and more harm than you are good. So the reason I'm emphasizing this so much is because I have several people, my dad has passed away, but have several people in my life that I see that happening, and I have to let them know, listen, you may be going beyond a boundary. You might need to make sure that you're not allowing what they're going through to become your own issue, and or say, listen, that it's not your problem. You can talk to them. You can have compassion on them. You can be kind to them. You can let them talk, but do not let it become your issue, because then you're not doing them any good. You're actually, joining with them, and it's just two people in a problem instead of one person that's listening to a person with a problem. So that's why I'm so emphasizing that. You're very needed. The thing is it's such a needed gift in organizations, in relationships, in families, in groups. It's so needed, but it's such a vulnerable gift. It's kind of why I left it to the last, because it's just such a vulnerable gift. It's so necessary, but it's very vulnerable. So anyway, I hope I've not overemphasized it too much and worn you out with that. Those of you with mercy saying, I know, I heard it. So I'm sorry. I will move on now. All right, so jobs, careers, activities, actions, things that are kind of associated with the gift of mercy. The arts. Artists, or being in the arts, is associated with those with mercy because they're compassionate. Artists are very emotional people. I can speak that because I was a fine arts major in college. I love the arts. I just believe in them. I've got a lot of friends that are artists, but they're very emotional people, and so compassion actually helps them as an artist, because then they can actually translate that through their art, whether it be songwriting, painting, photography, prose, poetry, what have you. Whatever artwork it is, whatever form or medium it is, it helps to be a person with mercy. Not every artist is that way. Again, generalization. They're good at being very cause-oriented, working toward causes because of the compassion that they have. A chaplain is a good role for someone that has the gift of mercy because of the fact, and I'm specifically speaking right now about a friend of mine that is the chaplain for a fire department and the police department. It's a small city, so he's chaplain for both, and so he rides along with them on calls when they go to accident scenes, go to fires and things like that. He rides along with them, and he's there to be there for the victims. And you have to have mercy, so that gift of mercy, so you can be compassionate, And so chaplains are really good for that. Be in the child care industry, so because children need a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding. They're good confidants, people that you can confide in. Cosmetology, I've gone and had my nails done and that sort of thing. They're good because they have to talk with people, and it's good to have the gift of mercy because then you can have compassion on people and you can connect with them, and it allows people to really kind of get things off their chest while they're having their nails done or things like that. Counseling, they're good in the counseling areas. Good customer service. You want your CSRs to have. It'd be good for them to have mercy. We talked about them as in the encouraging to have those, and in the serving, those that have serving and encouraging, giving as well. CSRs, they need to be well-rounded people. Involved in elderly care, then they're good for in the fiction writing because they can translate an emotion that some people that aren't very compassionate can't translate an emotion because they're emotion averse, and so. But mercy, those with the gift of mercy, engage their emotions constantly, so they can actually write about that. So hairstylist goes kind of along with the cosmetologist, that sort of thing. Listeners, they're good listeners. Massage therapists. In the medical industry, they're good in the medical industry. In ministries, they're good ministers. Because like we said, my dad was number one was mercy, and he was very good in ministry. Now they're not good in administration, because that's what I was. I was the administration part of the ministry. My dad was the senior pastor, or actually the pastoral. He was the senior pastor, but he did all the pastoral care. The visiting in the hospitals and the nursing homes and that sort of thing, because that's what he was good at, because he had the mercy thing. They're nurturing people, and photographers. People with the gift of mercy are good photographers. Again, they're translating. They're in touch with their emotions so much that they can translate it through the photography, which goes along with the arts. They're a good public defender, because those that need defending, the public defender is usually representing someone that doesn't have money that can afford a defense attorney, and so they have compassion on those people, and so they'll fight for them and they'll do what they can. Their social workers is a good area to work in. Work with special needs people, people with special needs. You need a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy to work with those with special needs, because they need all the extra attention and that sort of thing. And so it's awesome to have that kind of gift. They work in support roles. They're good to be in the support roles of whatever your organization is or whatever your group is. And then they're good victims assistants. They work in victims assistance really well, and it's just something that really benefits them to be able to help people, because you're empowering them. When they're victims assistants, you're empowering them to be compassionate, but then also provide assistance for those people they're compassionate with. And so that's a very good role for people with the gift of mercy. So that concludes the teaching on Discover You. And again, like I said before, I really trust that you have learned something of value, and I honestly believe that if you can take this information and apply it and learn the pros and the cons of your gifts and the pros and the cons of other people's gifts, we're going to be able to work together more effectively, more harmoniously, that sort of stuff. We'll be able to, if you're a leader, you can understand what roles people need to play that will make them fulfilled. Anybody can fill any role, really, but if you have someone that has a specific gift that goes along with that role, they're going to be more fulfilled. They're going to be more challenged, and it's not going to seem as difficult. It'll be hard work. A lot of it's hard work, but when you're being fulfilled in this hard work, then it's not really hard. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, just me doing these videos, it's I don't know if you understand, but when I'm on these videos, you're on. I'm not just carrying on a conversation. I'm on, and my mind's working all the time, and I'm working hard. And I've had to do this for 8 videos now, and so I get exhausted. In fact, this video I'm redoing from another taping, because I felt like I didn't give everything I could. I was too tired. I did 5 sessions in a row, and I was just exhausted. And so, but I'm still energized. That's why it's exhausting, because I'm energized and I'm just so excited about it. And I'm helping people, and this is my gift. And so if you can put people in roles that they understand and they are thrilled about doing, the serving roles. If you need someone to do stuff in the background, get that serving person, because they're going to be excited to do it. They're not going to think you're thinking less of them. They're going to be excited to do it. So anyway, I'm rambling on, but I really feel like that this is some beneficial information. If you know somebody that you think would benefit from this, send them the link to the assessment and the link to the course, and let them go through it and talk about it. If you have a group or something, a small group that you meet with, make it part of your curriculum, make it part of your study, and subscribe to it. I do ask that everybody pay for it, because that's how I'm trying to make my living now. And so that's just all I ask, is you don't just get one, pay for one, and then everybody do it. if everybody would pay, that would be very helpful to me, and I could do more. I can afford to do more videos that way. I believe I'm going to be taken care of because I'm doing my gift. I believe that God's going to take care of me. I'm going to be, but anyway, I got to get off of that now. So I'm so excited that you spent this time with me, and I look forward to providing future teachings, and maybe I get to see you in person sometime. If I do, you've taken the course online and I'm somewhere close to you speaking or what have you, please come up and let me know what this course meant to you, and if it made any difference in your life, because I know it will. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.